store called Deseret, and we would like pick out different. My friends would come over and they'd look at our milk and they're like, "I've never seen that brand." I'm like, and so like, when you're young, like I'm sure like all of you guys have a similar experience. Haven't you guys seen your parents struggle financially? And you know when your parents are crying or someone's crying, they're like, they try to hide it from you all the time. And so I can remember my mom was like always crying. Like that's pretty much my prominent memory from high school, was that my mom was always crying. And every time I would ask her what's wrong, she'd always be like, "Oh, it's okay, it's okay." And she just couldn't pay the bills. So my mom said, "Go to school, get a degree." So I went to college, I majored in business, I minored in psychology. I got a 4.0, straight A's for 2 weeks, and then I dropped out.
Way to commit.
It took me 2 weeks to figure out my professor was broke. And I was like, so I'm majoring in business, and this is the guy that's supposed to teach me to be powerful, influential, well-versed, sophisticated, dominate the marketplace, and he was riding a bike to school. Didn't have a car. Was constantly smoking, drinking coffee, he was freaking miserable. So I don't have a college degree, but I have a degree in common sense. And if you want to make a lot of money, then you got to follow people that are making a lot of money. So I dropped out of college. Don't worry, we're getting to the whole beam of business. After my therapy session with you guys is over. And so I dropped out, and I was working at a gas station. I worked at 76 gas station in Irvine, California on Jeffrey and Walnut. I had a $2,000 truck, and I was making $5 an hour. A friend of mine invited me to a meeting just like this. And I don't know what it's like for you guys up here in Los Angeles, but in Orange County, the cool thing to do when you're young is to not smile. And so I went to the presentation, and there was like 500 people in the room. And I sat in the presentation the whole time like this. And the cooler you are, the farther back your head is. And I just remember the guy would tell a joke on stage, and I was like, gay. Like a joke could even have a sexual preference, doesn't make any sense at all. And so the guy on stage, like I was like the most skeptical, negative guy in the room, totally too cool for school. There's a disease that started in Los Angeles, it spread to Orange County. It may have spread up here. It's called ITC, it stands for I'm Too Cool. A lot of broke college kids have it. There's also a disease going around the nightclubs called no acetol. Some of you guys got it, and if you didn't get it, maybe you're not getting it. Just testing the limits. Is it okay if we have fun?
Yes.
I have to say, in my book, Social Marketing, all it's about is how to make a lot of money in sales and marketing without being that cheesy sales guy. Because who here wants to make a lot of money? Woo! Okay. A few of you guys, some of you are like, no, not quite. That's okay. Okay, so anyway, back to my story. So the guy on stage said something that totally made sense to me. He said the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And he said if you don't have money to start a business, then you're always stuck working for the guy that already had the money to start the business. And so the rich people are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And so he said, I'm going to teach you guys how to recruit and train salespeople, and you'll make a little percentage of all those salespeople. And I thought, that sounds like a cool concept. So I got super excited about it, and he's like, yeah, go recruit your friends and get them to sell stuff, and then you'll make money off of them. And I was like, yeah, totally. And I went home, and I told all my friends about it, and they're like, oh, it's a scam, it's a pyramid, that'll never work. And I was totally depressed because I spent all the money I had, and I borrowed some money to get started in this company. And I called up my friend that signed me up, and I was like, dude, I prayed about it, and God said I shouldn't do it. And he started laughing, and he goes, what's so, I go, what's so funny? He goes, I know you don't pray. So he said, what did you do? I go, well, I went home, and I explained the thing to my friends, and he goes, dude, you got to come to training first and learn how to do this business, or you're going to fail at it miserably. So then I went to training, I learned how to do it, and I slowly started to build my little team. And my team went from 5 people to 10 people to 20 people, and it grew all the way to 67,000 people. And I was making over $1 million a year in my early 20s. So I bought my first Lamborghini Diablo cash when I was 21 years old. I bought it for $334,000 cash. And I remember walking into the showroom. And I've been poor my whole life. My dad, my grandparents, nobody in the Braun family has ever had money before. And so when I walked into the dealership and I saw this fluorescent orange Lamborghini, I was like, that is the most obnoxious color ever. for Mike Cordell, the guy that owns Momo Racing. And I was like, I'll buy it cash. And she's like, sold. The first thing I did, one of my really good friends, when I got involved in sales and marketing at 19 years old, one of my really good friends, I told him about the business, and he was like, oh, it's cool, bro, it's not for me. And he kind of looked down on me like I was lesser of a person for doing sales, like sales was bad or something like that. And it just stuck with me. The way that he looked down on me, it really hurt my feelings and made me feel like lesser of a person. And I'll never forget, his exact words were, oh, it's cool, bro, it's not for me. And so the first day, the first thing I did is I drove that Lamborghini and I parked it on his lawn. And he came outside and he's like, 3 times, bro, dude, you gotta give me a ride. And I was like, oh, that's cool, bro, it's not for you. I remember asking out a girl at a nightclub in Hollywood, and she just totally ignored me. And then the valet came and brought me the keys, and I opened the door and looked back, and she's like, oh! Kind of immature, but we gotta do it. Here, I'll tell you one more Lamborghini story before we get started. Me and Dave Myers. Okay, Dave Myers is my brother's like best friend in the whole world. And they met because I parked the Lamborghini in his parking spot one night when we were going to do a home meeting for like 7 people. And Dave Myers took us to Wesley Snipes' birthday party up in the Hollywood Hills. And Dave and I are young, broke kids from Orange County making money for the first time. And Dave's introducing us to celebrities right and left. And I'm like, where are Wesley Snipes' house? I'm freaking out. And Dave's like, look, don't smile so much. We're leaving the party. We're leaving the party. And Dave's like, dude, let's cruise Sunset once. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, you know. So we're cruising down Sunset. All of a sudden, this car, this Honda Civic is coming at me backward. And I'm parked on Sunset, stuck in traffic, just sitting there. I can't move, can't go anywhere. And the Civic is coming at us backwards. And I'm like, oh, shit. And it's just coming. And it hits the car, and then it rolls up the Lamborghini all the way up.
Get a good view.
And I can see the exhaust pipe and the back tires of the car stop on the windshield wipers. Because think how easy it is for a normal car to get up on top of a Lamborghini, right? And so we're just sitting there like, you know? And so then like, all of a sudden these police and helicopters and everything, and it was a car running from the police, hit a car and drove that car backwards up on top of my car. And police helicopters, they pulled the guy out at gunpoint and everything like that. And then so finally it's safe because the police were all, stay in your car. Finally it's safe and me and Dave Myers get out. And I get out of the car and just look at it and I'm like, oh. And there's a crowd. This is on Sunset Boulevard, right in front of like the Body Shop strip club, if you know where that is. And there's like maybe 100 people.
Don't answer. Don't answer, straight face.
So there's like 100 people surrounding us, right? And this one guy yells. It's like it's all quiet, and this one guy yells. Because imagine like when I was 21, I looked like I was 12, okay? This guy yells, your dad's gonna be pissed. Me and Dave Myers was glad. We sat on the curb, had a cigarette. We ended up becoming best friends with like all the police officers. But the only reason why I tell you these stories is because I can't even believe how cool my life has turned out. And it's come with a lot of challenges and a lot of struggles.
Yeah.
The hardest thing for me is when I was 19 and I first got into this kind of business, sales and marketing, was I didn't have any business credibility and nobody would listen to me. I made a list of 168 friends and like all of them said no. And so finally I got like my girlfriend and my brother and a few people and it started to build. And so this business is real and it works. How Vima works is really simple. Does anybody here drink energy drinks? Okay, cool. Have you guys noticed that energy drinks are very popular?
Yeah.
Recently, I was at MacArthur Park. Don't ask me why, but I was there. And I saw a homeless person walking with like a bottle in a brown bag. And I was like, yeah, of course, he's got like his alcohol, right? And then as he got closer, I noticed it was a monster. And I thought, what the hell does a homeless person need all that energy for? Gotta get to the other side of the park. Energy drinks are crazy popular. True or true?
True.
Okay, now here's what's really cool. What if we offered an organic, healthy alternative for about the same price. It's like this much more, like 5 cents more, 10 cents more, something ridiculous, okay? So what if we offered a healthy alternative that tastes better, it was good for you, and you could make money telling people about it, okay? So here's the end of my story. I made all this money. I made over $10 million, my brother and myself, before I was like 26 years old. Well, then I got involved in a music company, and the whole thing failed, and I lost everything. And so 6 years ago, at 30 years old, I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, could I move back in? And my mom was divorced and lonely, and so she was like, yes! She was so excited. And I was like, oh, good. And so I moved back in with my mom, and you know what we did? All we did was drink red wine and talk about how men are pigs, and I started to feel like an angry lesbian. We would just drink red wine, sit there, watch foreign films, and talk about how men are pigs. And so after a while, I was like, oh, this sucks. But can you imagine being 30 years old, after living in the Hollywood Hills and all that stuff, and then totally broke? 30 years old, totally broke, living with my mom. Not fun. Love my mom, but not fun. Well, as it would go, my mom ends up meeting a guy, they fall in love, they decide to get married, and my mom says, you gotta get out. And I was like, Mom, where am I gonna go? Now that she's got a man, she's all, I don't know, you're 30, figure it out, get out. So I was like, ah. So I called up my friend Charles, and I was staying with my friend Charles in Tustin. And I was there for a few weeks, and then I thought about my friend Matt Morrow. Because my friend Matt's always doing well financially, and I called him up and I said, what are you doing? And he had been telling me about Bima for like 6 months. But when I was making lots of money, living in the Hollywood Hills, driving sports cars, I was like, oh, it's cool, you know, I'm doing my thing, it's not for me. Oh yeah, it all comes full circle to bite me in the ass. So I called up Matt, and he's like, well dude, let me come over and like, I'll tell you all about it. So he comes over, and I'll never forget it, I can remember like it was yesterday. He came over in a blue Maserati, and the license plate said NRG, energy. And I was like, what a smart ass. So he pulls up, and then he got out of the car, and he handed me a Verb, and I tried it, and I was like, it's pretty good. It's got a little bit of an aftertaste. And without missing a beat, he goes, yeah, that's money. Matt is so awesome. I mean, he's just, how many of you guys know Matt? Dude, he's the funniest guy in the world, and he's the most confident guy in the world. I mean, you could look up like the word confidence in the dictionary, and it's freaking Matt. And so Matt gives me a Verb, and he gets me started. And so the very first 2 people I told were like, not the best 2 people, because I was like totally down and out. It was a drug addict and a drug dealer. And I was like, dude, don't do drugs, drink first. And so they started drinking the crack, and they were like, yeah, this is good. And so like, those 2 people, here's how it works, okay? All you do is you order a healthy alternative to Red Bull, and you drink it every month. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel anytime. So you order 2 cases, okay? That's it. 1 case you drink, the other one you pass out to your friends. So I started doing that, and I told 2 of my friends. They told 2 people, they told 2 people. Now I've got 19,000 people in 27 countries, and I now make money like the white man made. It totally works. It's been a huge blessing in my life. The company pays for my car. They've got this cool car program. Once your team gets to a certain level, they give you money every month to get a BMW or a Mercedes. And I've moved to South Africa, which is like the coolest thing ever. I totally love it there. And I've got 4,500 new members. I flew to South Africa, didn't know a single person. Okay, let me rewind past that. So I built up a big team here, and then I'm almost done, okay? I built up a big team here, then I moved to Taiwan. I was there for 2 years, building a team there. Met the girl of my dreams, fell in love, got engaged. A lot of you guys know she tragically passed away about a 1.5 years ago. And that's by far the hardest thing I've ever gone through. Way harder than any financial problem, okay? And I was broken. I mean, completely freaking shattered. And I didn't know what to do. And a friend of mine called me up, and he was in Kenya, in Mombasa. And he's like the #3 earner in this company, like one of the big dogs. And he goes, dude, I saw on Facebook, I heard about what happened. He's like, just come stay with me for a couple months. You can go on safari, take your mind off it. It might help for you to be like just super far away from everything right now. And I was like, all right. I mean, I kind of like prayed about it a little bit, and like prayer, I'm not a super religious person, so don't worry, I'm not going to get real religious on you. But prayer is like a weird thing, because I just prayed about it, And like, there wasn't this big blinking neon sign that said like South Africa, but I just kind of got this feeling, and that was the weirdest